Hello and welcome to PMCLounge.com. Today we are discussing the develop schedule process. So let's get started without wasting any time. Why is this important? Well, because this contains one topic which is very polarizing, and that is known as CPM. So CPM is part of the develop schedule process. Just to remind you, we have a separate video on CPM. I'll share the link to the entire playlist of schedule management knowledge area in the description below, so you can go there and check that video out for CPM. Again, this could be your most favorite or least favorite topic depending on how easy or difficult you find CPM. If you find it easy, then this is going to be your most favorite topic, because exam questions, PMP exam questions on CPM is almost guaranteed, right? So if you find CPM difficult, then this is going to be your least favorite topic, because you know there will be a couple or at least one question in the exam which you'll not be able to answer, because that is going to be about CPM calculation. So CPM is part of this process, and that is why this process is important. A quick reminder before we move ahead, pmclounge.com/resources is the link if you're looking for PMP book recommendations. One more reminder, if you would rather read an article than watch this video, then go to the first link in the description that is going to take you to the article over at pmclounge.com. The article is about develop schedule process itself. So where are we? Check from the PGKA mapping. So we are in project schedule management knowledge area. We have covered all these processes, and the link in the description to the playlist of schedule management knowledge area, you'll find all these processes discussed already. We are here, we are talking about develop schedule process. This is part of the planning process group. After that, we have just one more process called control schedule, and we'll be done with the schedule management knowledge area. So that is where we are. Just a quick check on PGKA. Now, of course, we just talked about how questions from CPM are almost a guarantee in your PMP exam, but this process is also important from the perspective of real world project managers, because a lot of real world project managers working on projects will tell you that development of a project schedule is one of the most important part of their jobs, and they're not wrong at all. Actually, developing the project schedule and then managing the schedule, managing the project, making sure that your project team is following the dates proposed in the schedule, right? That is actually a big part of a project manager's job role. All right, so we now know that this process is important from real world perspective as well as PMP perspective, because you'll definitely have questions, CPM questions in the exam. But what do we really do in the develop schedule process? Well, the name says it all. You are creating the schedule of the project, right? You're developing the schedule. Now, you need to consider the fact that all other processes before this one, before develop schedule process, all other processes, since this was the last one in the planning process group, as we have seen in one of the previous slides, all those processes, the outputs of all those processes are inputs in this process. And that is why this process basically brings together everything that you have done so far in the schedule management knowledge area. Whatever processes that you have followed so far in the schedule management knowledge area, the outputs of all of them are inputs to this process. So we have already discussed all the inputs to this process, because we have discussed the outputs of the previous process, right? And you already know over here at pmclounge.com, we don't suggest you that you need to learn all the inputs, outputs, tools, and techniques. No, sir. You can understand how these processes work, and that is good enough. That is the intent of PMP exam. That is how PMP exam is going to test you. Nobody is going to ask you all the tools and techniques of any processes in the PMP exam. Mark my words. Now, you should also note that we have already discussed the inputs, the outputs of this process. the most important output of this process is the project schedule itself. You will have your project schedule by the time you're done with this process, which is, like I said, the most important output here. Now, milestone chart is yet another output, an important output of the develop schedule process. We've already touched upon milestone chart in one of our previous videos. I'll share the direct link to that video in the description below. In that video, we talk about the different ways in which you can represent your project schedule. So milestone chart is one such way in which you can represent your project schedule. Now, why is this important? You already have the project schedule. Why do you need the milestone chart? Well, this is why you need the milestone chart, so that the dependent stakeholders and other project teams, they can plan their work accordingly. If they have a dependency on you, they need to know your dates, right? And you can give them high level dates of your project, because high level dates is what milestone chart is all about. If you read the first line, it is simply a list of all the important dates of the project, right? So that is all the dependent stakeholders or dependent teams need. When is your code completing? When is your testing completing? When is your requirements closing, right? So those kind of dates is what that the dependent stakeholders and dependent teams need. So this is what a milestone chart is. In the next slide, we'll take a look at how a milestone chart looks. Also, in addition to dependent stakeholders and teams, milestone chart is also used to report to senior management, right? Senior management is most interested in your end dates. When is your requirements closing? When is your code completing? When is your testing completing? So those dates, high level dates, is something which is available in the milestone chart, and that is why you can present milestone chart to senior management from time to time and tell them where your project stands. Also, you should note that milestone chart is actually a part of the project schedule itself, because in the project schedule, you will anyways have all the dates. You'll have the important dates, the not so important dates. You'll have all the dates in the project schedule. So thus, this milestone chart is actually a part of your project schedule itself. In the next slide, let's take a look at how a milestone chart looks. So this is how a milestone chart looks. You've got requirements baseline here. This is the milestone. Milestone, by the way, is a 0-day activity, right? You don't say today is the milestone activity, so we'll do nothing and we'll complete the milestone today. So it is not, it doesn't have any time. Milestone day is a 0-day activity. It is typically end of day is when you're supposed to reach the milestone. And these are the milestone requirements baseline, right? So this is the day when you're supposed to reach requirements baseline. It looks like week 3. So the end of day for week 3 is the milestone day for requirements baseline. Similarly, these are other activities, and these are the milestones for design completion, coding completion, testing completion. And a lot of project managers have different ways of representing it to the senior management or to the dependent stakeholders and teams. Some I have seen they'll draw a bar chart here and let them know where the project is. So we are here right now. We are at, let's say, week 11, and this is where we are. They'll draw a bar here so that the dependent teams, dependent stakeholders can understand that these two milestones, requirements baseline and design completion, is already done. We are in week 11 right now, and the next milestone is coding completion, right? So this is how, like I said, different project managers have different ways of representing. This is just one way that you can represent where your project stands through the milestone chart itself. A lot of project managers, they don't want to mess with the milestone chart at all. They'll just present this in its raw form, and they'll mention where the project currently stands separately and not touch the milestone chart at all. So it's up to you, the way, whichever way you want to present to senior management or to the dependent teams and stakeholders. Like I said, all these dates, all these activities, all these milestones are also available in your project schedule itself. And that is why a milestone chart is actually a part of your project schedule itself. So that is all that we had in this video. Hope the basics of the develop schedule process was clear. You were able to make out what develop schedule process is all about. Do hit the like button if that is true. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon if you have not already done so. And don't forget to check out the website pmclounge.com, your number one free PMP resource. Thank you.